Welcome back, YouTube. My name is Nigel Schroeder, and today I'm going to kind of walk you guys through the steps of buying land overseas, particularly in the Bahamas. Having bought property previously in the Bahamas, I felt like this was a good video to kind of share my experience and help as far as others who may be interested in buying property, rather Bahamian or if you are of another nationality, because it is legal for you to obtain property in the Bahamas, whether you are an American citizen, a citizen of the Bahamas, or a citizen of any other country. So let's get started. Tip number one: research and do your due diligence. Okay, this is going to be big when it comes to purchasing land in the Bahamas. The Bahamas is a relatively young country. We just celebrated 50 years of independence this year. So, with that being said, there are a lot of laws in place for land that are constantly changing for land and property. And as far as people having legal ownership and rights to the property, you want to research that and make sure that the property is what you want and owned by who says they own it. So before you start looking for land, do your research. Look at the market in the Bahamas. Think about your property's location. Think about property values. Look at all the different local regulations. Look at your zoning. What is your potential for developing that property for the future? Look at all of those things. Tip number two is going to be to find a real estate agent. Now, I have a particular company that I deal with whenever I purchase property. And so with that being said, I go with that company. In my case, I went over there, I found a company, and I chose the company that was right for me. I'm not going to disclose that company just because I don't want to provide any sort of favoritism to one place or another. If I was having an individual conversation with someone, then, I would tell them who I use as my real estate agent and everything. But just for YouTube, I'll say that, any real estate company in the Bahamas, for the most part, you're going to get a reputable agent, and you're going to, have someone who's well vetted and, aggressively working for you. Now, tip number three is going to be to obtain legal counsel. Reason being, in the Bahamas, because, like I said, you have all these different laws, and you have to ensure that that you're getting the property and the due diligence is done. It is a requirement in the Bahamas to have a lawyer when you purchase property. So, you want your real estate agent because they're going to have knowledge of the properties. They're going to know, they're going to be able to negotiate deals, and they're going to know all the different aspects on that end. Your real estate attorney, on the other hand, is going to be your person who's going to be doing your due diligence searches, who's going to be doing your title searches and deed searches, and making sure that the person owns the property who's trying to sell it to you, so that they can get the proper documents and get it transferred over. Tip number four: choose the right property. Make sure that you go and take a first-hand look at your property, the surroundings, how's it accessible, what things are near your property. Do you like it? Do you like the infrastructure? And what is that potential future for the growth of your area, the area for that property? So you want to make sure that you're getting the property that best suits you and what you want going along in the future. For instance, I can tell you, I went out to Freeport. I was looking at land online, and then I went out east and was looking at properties in person. One issue that you may have is you might look at a lot online, and it looks, great, and it looks like it's in an area that has future potential and all these things. However, certain areas of the island, it's an island, are, kind of like swamp. And so you might end up buying a wet lot if you don't go and physically inspect that lot to make sure that it is not a wet lot. And so certain areas of the island, the agent may disclose that to you and let you know, hey, don't purchase land over here. This isn't a good idea. And on the other hand, you have some agents who are not going to disclose that to you. So my agent, when I started looking at land in a certain part of the island, she told me, she said, hey, if you want to buy land out there, let me know the lots. I can go and, video call you and let you see the lots from that perspective. Or you can go out there and look at them firsthand, but you don't necessarily want to buy in this area because it's a heavy flood area and most of the lots are wet. So I said, okay, let me go and look at a different area. So make sure you're choosing the right property. Tip number 5, I've already said it and can't say it enough. Verify the ownership and title. Know who owns that property. Know who, if they have the legal authority to sell the property, because sometimes somebody may have control over a property, but they are a property manager and they're not the actual owner. Tip number 6 is going to be negotiate terms and price. Okay, always remember that even though your real estate agent is, working for you, they're also working off of commission and in their favor. And so you may need to, tell them, hey, put in this type of bid and lower it down a little bit for yourself, depending on the property. Sometimes, your agent might tell you, hey, you got to be aggressive. There's a lot of bids in on this property. And that's kind of just up to you on what you're willing to spend on it. Tip number 7 is going to be to obtain a registered survey. So make sure that you have someone survey the property so that you know the boundaries and you know the size of that property. Tip number 8 is going to be to obtain government approval. So if you're purchasing land in the Bahamas, you have to get a permit to purchase that land. So make sure that you get that approval so that you can purchase that land. Tip number 9 is going to be to draft and sign a purchase agreement. That's going to be done by your lawyer. They're going to draft it and have it all prepared for you, and you're just going to, sign that, and they're going to have the seller sign it as well. Tip number 10 is going to be pay your stamp duty and transfer fees. So of course you have to pay the taxes associated with purchasing the property. You have to do that in order to get the deed and everything going for the closing. You'll be wiring all that money in for the closing with the lawyer. Tip number 11 is make sure you do your closing as well as get your conveyance. So, if you're going in person, you go physically. If you are like myself and you just wire it, wire your money to your lawyer, have them handle all of that, and make sure that you get a copy of your conveyance. Tip number 12, any good lawyer is going to do this, but please do not trust that your lawyer is going to do this for you, and please arrange a trip to do this yourself just in case. Register the conveyance. I can't say this enough. It's the same as going and registering your deed when you purchase a property in the U.S. Register that conveyance with the Department of Land and Surveys, and you go to do that at the Registrar General. Make sure that document is, all together and registered so that you own the property. And last but not least, make sure that you pay your property taxes and keep your property taxes paid up. I can't say this enough. A lot of the times we, purchase properties when we're young and we don't necessarily know about this. And so I don't want anyone to fall into this hole. Whenever you purchase a property, you have to pay your taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, there are legal ramifications. One of them can be, of course, your property being taken back from you. So it's essential to make sure that you are paying your property taxes. With that being said, as always, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.